Hello YouTube, Millennium X17 here. EA has just left the stage. So, their press conference. Overall, I think it's a pretty strong showing. Nothing really jumped at me, was like, overly super impressive. But then again, it's not weak by any stretch of the imagination. So anyway, Peter Moore, well actually first off, they started out with a lot of dubstep and lights and all kinds of crazy. Their stage is pretty interesting too, because they had these 3 huge screens that could move and what have you. I don't even know how much that set cost, but it's not cheap. Either which way, Peter Moore comes out. Obviously, I totally forgot about this until they mentioned the pre-show on Spike mentioned it. But John Riccitiello is no longer the CEO, so I knew that. It didn't occur to me that he's not going to be at the show. So I was wondering how they're going to start it off. But Peter Moore comes out, says that they are going to be showing 11 games, which that's solid. It's pretty solid stuff. The first one they start off with, they're like a long-running franchise. That millions of players around the world have enjoyed, and then they go through the typical like Battlefield type, the staticky image switches with the soldier walking, towards the camera and what have you, and all of a sudden it switches to a new game from PopCap called Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare. Dark God and Kaz really like themselves some Plants vs. Zombies. I have not yet talked with them. I will as soon as this is done. I can't imagine they're too happy with this. It looks interesting. It could work. But it's just strange. It really is. It could be fun. I don't know. It's just so out of left field. It is a fully 3D, rendered Plants vs. Zombies that is a third-person action shooter. Like, it even takes straight from, how Call of Duty, every single mission starts with the little, down here in the corner, the text starts appearing down here in the inner corner. It even does that. And I'm like, really? I mean, and then the usual parodies come with, instead of a missile strike, it's a corn strike or something like that. It's like I said, it's just awkward and bizarre. It could be fun. I just don't see, your typical Plants vs. Zombies fan base to look at that and go, "Woo, I want me some of that," because the typical Plants vs. Zombies by nature is a tower defense game. To switch genres from a tower defense to a third-person action, I don't think the same people would be interested. But you never know. I don't know. It'll be interesting to hear what Dark God has to say, because she'll either be interested or totally raging. If I had to bet, I would say she's raging over it. But I don't know yet. But anyway, which way. Next up, they showed off some more Titanfall from Respawn Entertainment. Behind-the-scenes dev video. From what I can gather, it's a multiplayer-only game, which I just don't know how I feel about that. I really just... Come on. Anyway, Frank Giberu comes out and is talking about the Frostbite 3 engine and the Ignite engine. A teaser for Star Wars Battlefront has been announced. So, a lot of people are really liking that. New Need for Speed game is announced called Need for Speed Rivals by Ghost Games. And this leads me to believe that they're at EA are a little shaky about the uncertainty with the DRM issues at play, because they specifically go out of their way to say there's an offline mode if you want it. But if you really want to, there's an online mode too that's totally going to make the game better. No, really, it will. So, it's awkward that for Need for Speed that they would suddenly throw that in, but whatever. They brought out Aaron Paul, apparently is the star of the Need for Speed movie. Next up, Dragon Age Inquisition. They did a debut teaser type trailer, fall 2014. Pre-rendered trailers are misleading because they always tend to look really good. It's why I always I'm more impressed by the actual live demos. Next up was EA Sports. Did a flurry of four different games. It was NBA Live 14, Madden NFL 25, FIFA 14, and UFC 14. Now the NBA Live, they said who it was, but I don't know who. I couldn't write that fast, but some guy came out and did this like urban street rap kind of thing about how, it's dribbling, and it's like, okay. And then they talked about how NBA, they have a new physics engine in the game called Bounce Tech. That's I guess in basketball games in press, it's every time you dribble the ball has been physically attached to the player's hand in the game. But now all of a sudden, now that with Bounce Tech, they can actually, every single time the ball does something, it actually in real time calculates that, and it does so the ball is no longer a part of the player, so it makes it more realistic. Again, it's just okay. I'm not really into sports games, so it doesn't really affect me too much. Madden, NFL, and FIFA were both pre-rendered game, not pre-rendered, pre-recorded gameplay. So it looks good. In that environment, you can focus it to make it look as good as you want it to be. And then finally they had the announcer for UFC come out and announce the Dana White and the two reigning champions in UFC. And the guy from the game, I didn't really have time to write his name down. It's just the what I can say is that announcer guy for UFC is he can get anybody revved up for anything. But yeah, again, it looks good. So what can you say about that? Then DICE brings out the Battlefield 4. We're talking more about how, usual Battlefield stuff, dynamic environments, this, that, the other thing, usual stuff. 64-player multiplayer. Then they briefly touched on something called Commander Mode, where even if you're not online playing the game, you can log in during your tablet and give the squads commands and help with intelligence and this, that, and the other thing. And I'm like, okay, that's only as useful as the person giving you the orders. So, okay. Then they had probably the most impressive live demo I've seen in a while at E3. It was a full 64-player live stage demo of the multiplayer. And I wrote down this question right here on my notes, but what is it with these macho shooters and the need to have buildings fall over? Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 did it, and then Battlefield 3 did it, and now Battlefield 4 here again in a multiplayer session has a huge skyscraper just fall down. And it's like, what is this deal with falling skyscrapers? I just don't... Is it that impressive from a technical standpoint? I don't know. It's been there, done that, so... Either way. And then DICE came back with a pre-rendered trailer for Mirror's Edge 2. So they finally... it's all but been confirmed. It was like 2 weeks ago. It showed up on an Amazon Germany website, and then over the weekend it was shown on an Amazon Italy website, and then it showed up on an EA Help Center website. It's like 3-4 sightings of it prior to E3. It's been leaked to hell and gone, so I kind of was expecting it. But yeah, they finally... One thing I did notice was that there's been like 4 games that they showed here that are all coming from DICE. It's like almost everything from EA is coming from DICE, with the exception of... Need for Speed, I think, is the only game I can think of offhand that's and the EA Sports that's coming from DICE. So let's see. Oh, I forgot. PopCap also announced Peggle 2. They kind of threw that in at the end of their thing and didn't show anything from it. But yeah, so other than Plants vs. Zombies, Peggle 2, Titanfall is not. Star Wars Battlefront is. Need for Speed is not. Dragon Age is not. Sports is not. So what, 3 games out of 11? They got so much coming out of DICE. It's kind of strange. But the last thing they said was, they give a little caveat down at the bottom is, oh, it'll come out when it's ready. And I'm not even joking. It literally said, it didn't specifically say Mirror's Edge 2, but it definitely showed new stuff. And then it was like mirrorsedge.com, and then below the caption of the actual logo for Mirror's Edge, it said, coming when it's ready. Which leads me to believe that it won't be for a long, long while. Because if it was, like, say, for example, fall 2014, they would say fall 2014. Which means to believe that it's probably not even 2014. Okay, between now and then, there's so much games to play, I can't even keep up with it all as it is right now. So, like I said, that's the end of EA. I don't know. It's just, it's not what I would consider to be amazing showing. Pretty much paint by numbers if you really want to get down to basics. Nothing grabbed me, nothing was super impressive. So yeah, there's that. Up next in like 50 minutes is Ubisoft, which they are the unchallenged titans of the awkward press conference, so be interested to see what they do. And then later tonight is the other juggernaut of Sony to see what they can do. A lot of people are really, from the little limited amount of social media that I've seen thus far, people are still down on Microsoft. So, like I said during my personal review there, which I think is still processing, YouTube takes forever, they didn't really do nothing. It was a strong conference, but it's just nothing to convince me to go put $500 on a new console that has some serious DRM issues that they themselves have yet to come out and say in any real sense. So, we'll see what happens. Ubisoft is next, and until that happens, y'all have yourselves a good day.